I love movies that are about the Roman Empire, because in those movies, the armies, the good guys, they always seem invincible. They have the coolest armor, the best weapons, and the manliest looking heroes. Russell Crowe in Gladiator is what I think about when I imagine what it means to be a man. But the Empire fell, and I was really confused as to how this happened. In the movies, they're invincible. So how did Rome fall? Well, two things happened. The official end of the Empire was caused from invaders from Germany, but those guys never would have had a chance if it wasn't for two plagues of smallpox. The first plague killed 1/3 of the entire population of the Roman Empire. It even killed Emperor Marcus Aurelius. The second plague was worse. One historian wrote that people were dying before the battles that were supposed to happen. The war grounds were littered with bodies before the fighting began. But here's what's even crazier. During this time, Christianity grew faster than any time in history. A bishop wrote this, and we've preserved his words. Although this mortality has contributed nothing else, it has especially accomplished this for Christians and servants of God, that we have begun gladly to seek martyrdom while we are learning not to fear death. Our brothers who have been freed from the world should not be mourned, since we know that they are not lost but sent before, that in departing they lead the way. Christians were blowing people's minds because they did two things. First, they weren't afraid of death. Secondly, they helped the sick. Look at what Emperor Julian wrote about the Christians. He's not happy when he says this. He's complaining to one of their priests. I think that when the poor happened to be neglected and overlooked by our priests, the caring Galileans observed this, that's the Christians, and devoted themselves to benevolence. The Galileans support not only their poor, but ours as well. Everyone can see that our people lack aid from us. Julian is complaining. He's saying that the Christians were taking care of everyone, regardless of religion. In the Roman religion, they weren't doing a good job at all. People who aren't afraid of death. People who care about others. People like this prove that God exists. I want to close with something that's funny. It's also pretty terrible. The most famous doctor in the world, Galen, he had a totally different response. What did he do? He bought a house in the countryside and stayed there till everything was over. People died because Galen didn't use his skill in medicine to help other people. Now, I'm not a doctor. There's a reason I'm teaching and not nursing. That's not how I've been blessed. Instead, the most important things that Christians can do are to help the people closest to us. When we do this, we prove that God exists. There are some things in the Bible that have room for interpretation. Taking care of sick people, it's not one of them. Jesus says in Matthew 25 that the kingdom of God is filled with people who help sick people. God looks out at the kingdom of God and they ask him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. All of us have different ways that we can help during this time. All of us have different skills, talents, and resources. If we use these things to help people who are sick, we show how God has transformed our life, and we show that He is King.